Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. As we always say, you're home for all things Washington Commanders. This is our holiday edition. I'm just kidding. Christmas is on the way. Merry Christmas or whatever you celebrate. I hope you're enjoying your holiday season because I know I am. The Commanders are winning. They stay winning. Guys, we are 9-5. We are one win away from our first double-digit win season since 2017, I think it is. I don't remember.
2012.
When we went to the playoffs with Kirk, did we not win 10 games with Kirk?
9-7.
No, that was 9-7 when we won.
Dang, for real?
Went to the wild card.
Wow. Even with the Jordan Reed era with Kirk, we
The
didn't win
Jordan
10
Reed
games?
era. What, the 6 games that he was healthy? No.
Yeah, it was a short era, but it existed. Wow, I thought we won more than okay. So 2012. That's crazy. Okay. So we got our work cut out for us this week. We got the Eagles, right? You know, the Eagles are just crushing everybody in the league right now. As a matter of fact, their quarterback is the leading rusher in the NFL in terms of touchdowns, which if I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm looking at Jalen Hurts crazy because he's costing me money every time he takes a ball across the goal line and doesn't give it to me. But the Eagles are just on fire right now. Now, before we get to the Eagles game, let's do a quick recap on that Saints game, guys, because it wasn't as smooth as we wanted it to be, but we got out there with the W. Eric, what were your thoughts on the Saints game?
Could have been happier with that. I personally, I know the numbers are going to argue with me. Probably one of Jayden Daniels' worst games of the season, in my opinion. I don't think he was very good at all. And I think that maybe at times, without, okay, I don't want to get the herd. I'm already going to have Philly fans hating me after this episode because you know my opinion on their quarterback. But I think at times our quarterback tends to be a little bit too preoccupied with his completion percentage. Instead of throwing the ball away, he takes unnecessary hits and sacks. He got sacked, air quotes, twice in that game because he ran out of bounds instead of throwing the ball away. I don't know if that's the case. That's just speculation on my part. But I was not thrilled with Daniels' play in that game. He did make some nice plays, particularly in the first half. But a lot of it, he was holding the ball way too long. Again, he wasn't throwing it away when he should have. So maybe that's just something to watch. I don't think he was the reason the game was that close. I think there were other factors there, but I don't think that was one of his best games. My other thought on that game is we have got to find another wide receiver. That first drive when they kept trying to score from the 1 yard line and couldn't get it in, I'm just like, dude, throw it to Terry. Just stop messing around with Zacchaeus. Just throw it to Terry McLaurin. He's going to, and of course he did. He just lobs one up there and he catches it, takes it away from two guys. Got to find help for him in the offseason. A second legit receiver would be lethal in this offense. So those are my two thoughts on the game.
Now, I will say, I thought Daniels was really good in the game. Were there some throws that he missed deep to Terry? Yes. I think Terry was somewhat at fault for a couple of those. That one was a drop down the sideline. And the other one, I think he slowed down for, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm thinking of the same play.
I was underthrown. The second one was way underthrown.
Second one was underthrown because I think he was trying to overcorrect from the one that he overthrew. And it happens. But I thought, dude, he made some elite throws in that game. The one when he went around the defender of sidearm before Zacchaeus was even
nice
cutting. Loved it. But you're right. Like that second receiver spot is it's not working. I got a question for you, Mike, and then I want to get your overall take on the game. Who did we miss more in that game? Noah Brown? No. Noah Brown or Austin Eckler? Which one did we miss more?
Oh, dag. I'm going to say Noah Brown only because we had Robinson and the running game should have been better than it was on Sunday. But everybody's been talking about it. The 3rd and goal play where Cam Jordan came and sacked Daniels and prevented them from scoring a touchdown. Everyone's yelling at Luke McCaffrey saying he missed the block or missed the chip or whatever. If that was Noah Brown, he probably doesn't miss the chip and we probably score a touchdown on that play. And honestly, just transitioning to the game as a whole, I'm not tripping off it, man. Like, it's December. Get your wins how you can, bro, and get out of there, especially on the road. when you got the refs against you. I'm cool with how the game went. If a couple of plays went the other way, they win by 10 plus, and we're solely focusing on the Eagles right now and not why we didn't beat the Saints by more. And we lost a game to the Steelers a month ago, or a little over a month ago, by 1 point. A game we should have won. So I'm not tripping off of the performance versus the Saints. I know a lot of people are, but I'm not. I'm strictly moving past it because we won. That's all that matters, and it's on to Philly, like straight up.
I got two thoughts.
Go ahead, Eric.
If you're relying on Luke McCaffrey to block Cam Jordan, then you need to rethink your play design. That's one. Two, I totally missed Austin Eckler more than Noah Brown in this game because Eckler made plays in the passing game and Brown didn't. I mean, that's the man. I think we'll miss Eckler more against Philly this week than we will Noah Brown for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Eckler's an option in the red zone that we are missing sorely too with those screens and delays that we ran. Something that's been problematic since the beginning of the season, I believe, even in preseason, are red zone penalties. Number one, we seem to accumulate a ton of those, and then the play calling in the red zone, I feel like it's way too creative to try to make up for what we're missing offensively. And I'm like, dude, just hand the ball to B-Rob. Like, try to hand the ball to B-Rob 2 times in a row and see what happens. And we never do. We're doing like these end arounds and quarterback powers and quarterback, off tackles. And I'm like, it works sometimes. But man, we're accumulating a lot of hits on the quarterback, and we do tend to miss blocks on those plays. So I would just love the play that I really loved was that play where Daniels sort of like started to boot right a little bit. The whole offense started to pull right, and Terry came around the backside to the left. And all Jayden had to do was just lead him left because there was nobody over there. More of that, please, Cliff. But I'm going to call in the question, Cliff's red zone offense so far to the season, because I think it could be better. I think the play calling could be better. We need more help at receiver, but I don't like how we get into the red zone and then we start getting super tricky. Now, all right, moving on. We're going to move on to the Eagles, but Mike, you got some breaking news, NFL news right now. Do you want to go ahead and let the people know what it is?
Oh, yeah. Apparently, the Falcons have named rookie Michael Penix Jr. their starting quarterback, and they benched Kirk Cousins, the person they just signed a lot of money for. Signed for a lot of money, I'm sorry. And, I'm surprised that they're doing it so late in the season in the middle of a playoff run, but it's going to be interesting, like, to say the least. And, yeah, Kirk, it looks like he's hitting that wall quicker than some expected. Because I remember when Penix was drafting, everybody was like, maybe 2-3 years down the line, he'll be the starter. Nope, it just took 16 weeks. So I'm excited for Atlanta, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are too. I'm actually like trying to pick them up in one of my fantasy leagues right now because you never know. So yeah, good job for Atlanta to make that peculiar, tough decision, but probably the right decision nonetheless.
Yeah,
I'm glad they're doing it this week, so we'll have at least a week of film on it. I don't want to be the first team to have to play him, even though my assessment of him has always been left-handed Kirk Cousins, but we'll see. I think he's got a much better arm than Cousins does. That's one thing.
And he doesn't run a ton either. I think
no, he's got 2 bionic knees. So
yeah, the cap hits for Kirk Cousins are not small, man. So for them to be doing this, sheesh. So he's got a 65 million cap number this year. Dead money, 65 million next year, 25 million cap savings, 25. Like, you can't really get away from this until 2027. So I'm not sure what the heck they're going to do. There's got to be something in here, but you got to know what you got in Michael Penix, which, again, why did you draft Michael Penix? Maybe for this reason, and maybe you find a sucker to take on Kirk Cousins. Like, maybe the New York Giants are like, dude, We can't risk it with a young quarterback, but by now, man, Kirk Cousins will be on his fourth team. So hard pass. All right. Eagles time. Let's talk about the Eagles. Eric, who is the Eagles' most dangerous offensive weapon?
100% Saquon Barkley. He is the reason that offense is so effective. Even if he's not having the best game, he's got to be the focal point of the defense because he's the X factor. Because we've seen all those other guys in Philly before, and my assessment of Jalen Hurts has not changed even after the last game. Is if you can force him to play quarterback from the pocket, you got a good chance to beat him. And the fact that Saquon Barkley is there just makes that nearly impossible to do. So he is what makes that team go. He did get a little dinged up this week, so we'll have to monitor that. I haven't seen any injury news on him in the past day or two. He did have to. He was out briefly in the first half, and he didn't have. Obviously, they were playing Pittsburgh, which is a pretty strong run defense, but he didn't have his best game either, rushing wise. A close second to him, obviously, is AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown is top 5 receiver in the league, and he also got a little dinged up this week. But that's a 1-2 punch that's hard to combat. And then with all of the other pieces that they have on offense, it's a really scary offense to go against.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Brown has a medium to high ankle sprain, so it'll be interesting to see if they play him with the playoffs kind of looming in the background. If I'm the Eagles, I don't think it's worth it. But we'll see. It's too early to tell right now.
I think it's worth it. You got a shot at home field advantage. Obviously you're trying to wrap up the division. Detroit is just like walking wounded right now. I think they're going to fall off just because they don't have the numbers anymore. And then Minnesota, they got to play each other. Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, I think all have to play each other again. So that's going to be, or maybe Minnesota, Detroit, I don't remember, but Philly's got a really good shot at the home field advantage. So I don't think if somebody can go, I think they're going, at least until that's wrapped up. Plus, they can wrap up the division this week with a win too.
Yeah, he's missed several games or some games this season already. For me, I'm playing a long game. That's just me. But Saquon is 100% the biggest problem that we need to be concerned about. And quite frankly, I don't think we have an answer for Saquon Barkley whatsoever. Now, Chen got a concussion last week, so we'll see if he's able to suit up this week. Mike, what can we do against Saquon and those Eagles?
Pray. No, I'm joking. The good news is that we have reinforcements. Finally, he has arrived. Marshawn Lattimore. And in his first game, we didn't see him. No targets. The entire 4 quarters. They did not throw that man's direction at all, which is great. I don't think we'll have the same luxury on Sunday versus Philly, and that's okay. He's proven to handle some of the better wide receivers in the league. And with that, you would hope that they can leave him, maybe not necessarily on the island, but maybe not give him as much resources as you would need to give a St. Juice or San Still on A.J. Brown, who he obviously is going to follow wherever he's lined up. You better bet that Lattimore is going to be checking him. If not every play, damn near every play, excuse my French. With that being said, you can dedicate more resources to stopping the run. How do you do that? I don't know. I'm not Joe Witt. And I know y'all coming here to get the answer, but a lot of defensive coordinators have been trying to answer that question all season, and no one has seemed to stop it completely. And that's the key to this game, in my opinion, as far as stopping them. They did an okay job for 3 1/3 quarters, but in the 4th quarter, he broke off 2 25-yard plus runs for touchdowns. So if they could find a way to bottle him up the entire game, it really does increases their chances to win. But like I said, a lot of defenses have been trying to do that. The Steelers and Ravens tried to do it the last 2 weeks, 2 of the last 3 weeks, I'm sorry, and they haven't found a way to stop him. So how can we trust Washington to stop him? I don't know, but Lattimore being here alone helps, and that's great news for them.
I agree. So the Eagles and the Saints played last season on New Year's Day. 2023. Sorry, 2 years ago, 2023. Time goes by fast. AJ Brown that game had 4 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown, and Devontae Smith had 9 catches, 115 yards, no touchdowns. I will say Lattimore did have an interception that game. So when that offense is clicking, it's tough for anybody to completely shut them down. But we'll see. This is a whole different team. Joe Witt loves bringing us pressure. He loves bringing us pressure. And I think when we had the quarterback switch last game, caused us some issues in our secondary. It sort of exposed a few opportunities there. Eric, what do you think about our blitzing? Is it a problem at this point, or do you think we should continue to blitz Jalen Hurts or sit back in coverage this game?
You got to mix it up. I don't think there's ever going to be a problem with pressure if it's brought correctly. Zach Ertz being on IR is actually huge for this team, for the Commanders, because he's a big time outlet for Jalen Hurts when he's under pressure. So him not being there should allow for a little bit more. Not that the other guys can't play, but I mean Zach Ertz, I said Zach Ertz.
I was about to say,
yeah, Dallas got it.
Wait,
it's 5 years. It's 5 years later. It's 5 years later, and they're still the same guy in my brain. Sorry, Dallas Goedert. But he's on IR right now, so he's not going to be available. And Dallas Goedert killed us in the last game. He was, during the 3+ quarters that we played outstanding defense, Goddard was the only one who was really getting anything done. But yeah, I think if you can find a way to not only like bring pressure in the pass game, but figure out run blitzes that work against Saquon Barkley and just maintain it and just control it, and make Jalen beat you with his arm from the pocket. If you can find a way to do that, I mean, that's your best chance to go. And then, I think Mike was saying, I mean, this game is really the reason that Marshawn Lattimore was brought in here. That's why we made the trade. He has to play his best against this team, because that's what we need him for. You need a guy that can go against the AJ Browns, the CeeDee Lambs in this division, because there's just tough receivers across the board, and you need somebody that can help take them out of the game. So yeah, I'm all for pressure, but smart pressure. Don't just send the house. Don't do the old Atlanta Falcons grits blitz. Can't be doing that, because I mean Hurts can beat that for sure. There's enough talent at wide receiver. And then you just got to prepare for the inevitable jump ball. Like AJ Brown just wins those contested catches. That's what Lattimore's got to be here for. And like Mike said, I expect Lattimore to follow AJ Brown everywhere. Sainristil, I thought last game did a great job against Devontae Smith. I thought Sainristil might have been his best game of the season so far. He was really outstanding. And then if you can find a way to not have to rely on Benjamin St-Juste for anything, that's wonderful. So hopefully we can make that part of our game plan, because he's grabbing somebody's face mask.
Pause on St-Juste for a second. I can't believe he only played 3 plays on Sunday.
He got a personal.
And one of those plays was a hand to the face. Oh my goodness. That is so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
No. It's
a good thing they don't have plus minus in the NFL, because that dude would be minus infinity.
That dude, I swear. we got to talk about another elephant in the room that's a real problem. And that's our kicker. We had another kicker miss another kick in this game, and it's going to cost us big, fellas. Big. Mike, what can we do about this kicker situation, man?
No, I'm joking. It's at this point, it's
an empty hammer before this.
Right, like it's really nothing you can do. I don't even know who's the current kicker on the roster right now. Is it still what's his name, Greg?
They're looking at Zane Gonzalez. He's looking like he's going to play this week, but we don't know for sure.
Like I said, it's nothing you can do right now in the middle of the season. McMahon has really screwed us. I know it happened months ago now, but when you go into a season expecting that you signed your kicker and all the good kickers are taken, or all your best kickers are taken, it does present a problem where it can start causing you game. Matter of fact, it cost us the Cowboys game. I know we ended up losing by like a lot of points or whatever, but at the end of the day, that game was out of control because we couldn't get the kicking game down pat. So, like I said, There's nothing they can do right now, unfortunately. Hopefully Gonzalez is healthy enough to get kicking. It really sucked to lose Siebert. He was cooking before the injury, and it just seemed like one of those Washington things. Like the kicker gets injured, like who? I mean, and we benefited from that earlier this season with the Giants when our guy who has a Gano was injured versus
Right.
the Commanders in week 2. So I'm not saying like it's impossible for a kicker to get injured, but for it to happen during this season for Washington is ridiculous. And there's nothing they can do right now. Absolutely nothing they can do.
Yeah. And the quality of field goal kicking overall in the league seems to be really, really down. I was watching a couple other games where kickers were just shanking kicks left and right. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the answer is either we're going to not kick field goals and punt, or we're going to keep the drive going and try to score in the end zone. Maybe we'll see more Tress Way because like at the end of the day, to me it's better to punt rather than give the opponent the ball on your 49-yard line, right, and go out the other way, especially if you don't get it.
Hopefully now that seemingly you can trust the defense more if you're Quinn, with the additions and the adjustments with bringing the ladder more. You might trust your defense a little bit more now, so you're more willing to punt. I feel like against the Saints on Sunday, definitely should have punted on that 50-plus yard field goal. I don't understand. Like, that's 2 out of the last 3 games now where Quinn has made a very questionable decision on a 4th down or a 3rd down, and I don't know. Like, I just feel like sometimes you can't go analytical and you got to go with your gut and you got to go what makes the most sense. And he should have. I'm not going to go back. That's revisionist history. So I'm just going to stick to Sunday. Should have punted. Should have put the defense in, put the hands in the defense, let them drive 80-plus yards or 90-plus yards instead of the 40 that they had to drive to potentially tie the game or get closer.
Right. I agree. All right, Eric, what's your biggest concern against the Eagles, and what's our biggest weapon against the Eagles? What do you got, sir?
So the biggest concern I have is just that offense as a whole. Well, I'll narrow it down. I'll say the trenches on both sides. The offensive line, again, it was a short week last game, so I'm going to give them a little bit of grace. But the offensive line, I mean, that was their by far worst game of the season. They just got completely dominated. That can't happen again. We either have to play better up front or find a way to neutralize what they're doing up front, be that with, lining up under center and running play action or something. But we got to figure out a way to slow down that pass rush and hold blocks for a little bit longer to give the quarterback some time. Now, X factor as far as biggest weapon, our biggest advantage against them, that's a tough one because, I mean, across the board, I think Philly is just a more talented team than what Washington is. So I think this might have to be a Jayden Daniels hero game. He might have to run around and make plays more so than he did. Again, short week last time, and he was injured last time they played. Also didn't have Brian Robinson last time they played. So, it's going to be a completely different week. We also are missing Eckler, who was our best weapon against them. So, it's kind of tit for tat. But no, I think Jayden Daniels is going to have to make some improvisational plays with his legs. And even if, Quinyon Mitchell did a really good job on McLaurin last game. Even if he's doing a great job on him this year, you still got to give Terry a chance. He's shown that he can win those 50-50 balls. And if you got to challenge Quinyon Mitchell, challenge him, throw it. If he's covered, throw it to him anyway. See what happens, because it's Terry McLaurin and he wins those at least as much as he loses them. So that's, a 50-50 in the truest sense. So I think that's what's going to have to happen for this team to have success is Jayden Daniels is going to have to make plays with his arm and his leg, because I think he's going to be under some distress for most of the game.
No doubt. Same question for you, Mike. What's your biggest concern and what's our biggest weapon against the Eagles?
I'll start with the bad news first. Biggest concern, man, that defensive line. They kind of wreaked havoc on Washington last game, and that was with all the starters, I believe. They were coming off a short week, I believe. So with more rest now, they might be able to perform a little bit better. But I just feel like it's going to be tough for them to do that versus that D-line. The good news is that our biggest weapon is something that can slow that defensive line down, and that's the quarterback and the offensive line combined. I feel like this week they have to play fast, like really, really fast, up-tempo to tire that D-line out, especially early in the game. And if they do that, they can score more points and force Philly to pass, and you never know.
Right. You never know. I think for me, my biggest concern is obviously like our defensive line because I just don't think that they performed up to par. And I'm not including Fowler, right, coming off the edge at times and things like which, by the way, he had two roughing the passer penalties. There maybe attack, but he had them.
Yeah, one of them was complete garbage.
Yeah,
the one in the end zone was awful.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
But I think our interior of our defensive line, when it comes to generating pressures, but also stopping the run, hasn't been enough for me. And then you have the Philly, what is it? The Philly shove, what is it? The brotherly shove or whatever you have. That's coming right at the interior of the defensive line, right? Who hasn't been as effective as I want them to be against the run. So that's going to be there. And then you have Saquon. And Saquon can do whatever he wants whenever he wants. So that's my number one concern. Our biggest weapon against the Eagles, I think, is Frankie Louvu. He's just been all over the field. And I think he can help neutralize Jalen Hurts some. Now, you did see a couple of plays where he was like out in coverage, against Kamara, which, I mean, and you can't blame him. Like, who's going to do well against Kamara in space? It's not happening, right? Like, especially on like a double pass or whatever that stuff was. Like, it's just tough. But I think Luvu's going to have to have an elite game for us to feel like we're going to have a chance this week. Because Eric, you're right. Like Eckler's out. That's a big loss, right? And we just don't have that dynamic player in the running back out of the backfield like we did with Eckler. And so I'm worried that too much is going to be put on Jayden's shoulders in the passing and in the running game. And I don't want to see Jayden run the ball a ton this week against the Eagles. I want to see him get the ball out quick rhythm passing, and let's just chew clock, right, and possess the ball. That's what I want to see. So, all right, Eric, final thoughts and your score prediction against the Eagles, sir.
Final thoughts. It's gonna be a fun game. I'm not approaching this game with despair at all. I think Philly, like I've said, is overall a more talented team, but I don't think they're invincible. And I think there is a path to victory for this team. It's going to be tough, and they basically have to play a perfect game. Philly's going to have to make mistakes, but it's possible. Philly's won like 9 in a row now. So there's also the do theory. So there's a lot that goes into it. They could be feeling themselves a little bit. I am not a huge Nick Sirianni guy to this day. I think he's done a really good job at bringing in coordinators who are smarter and better coaches than he is. So credit to him. He at least is willing to admit his weaknesses. So, there's a lot to be said for that. But I don't know. I don't fear Philly as much as maybe even I should. I do think even though they've been playing really, really well, there's a path to victory. So I'm going to go ahead and just go on the long shot. I'll call Commanders victory. We're going to get the upset 27-23. Washington Commanders this weekend because that's how I roll. And no brotherly shove touchdowns for Jayden Daniels. He's putting up them Al Bundy numbers, by the way. He's got like 14 carries for 10 yards and 14 touchdowns. Yeah.
Well, Saquon has 11 touchdowns himself too, I believe. So
yeah.
Mike, your final thoughts and score predictions.
Piggyback off of what E said. Yeah, I do feel like Philly is due a L, and Washington is due a signature win. And somebody called me out when I said this earlier on social media that the Bears Hail Mary play was a signature win for Washington. And I was like, yeah, that's good, but they might need something more signature-y, if you know what I'm saying. And I feel like this Eagles game is that game. Again, piggybacking off of what Eric said, it is going to have to be a perfect game. Philly will have to make some mistakes, And I feel like that's what happened on Sunday, man. I really feel some good vibes hitting up the Northwest Stadium, formerly known as FedEx Field, on Sunday. So give me the Commanders to have a good game, especially after that almost collapse in New Orleans. Give me the Commanders to have a good game. So good that I think they might win by double digits. Commanders 31, Philly 17.
Wow. You guys
Better
are
brace
super
yourself. The
optimistic.
Kool-Aid man's about to bust through your wall there, Mike. Oh, yeah.
For the
You
record,
know, I usually don't get that excited, but when it comes to Philly, like they've been talking a lot of smack, their fans and even the players. Like I remember after the loss on Thursday night, Hurts had the nerve to take a shot at Scott Van Pelt because he was a Commanders fan. Like, how dare you talk to SVP like that, man?
right.
So I might be a little bit
PG's
emotional
finest
behind
right
my
there.
picks.
Yeah.
Right, I may be a little bit emotional behind my pick this week, but whatever. I can articulate and describe and give you reasons why I believe that if you want me to. If somebody have a problem, they can call me out in the comments and we could talk. But 31-14 feels good for me this week.
31-14. I like that. I like that
You said
optimism.
17 the first
Sorry,
time.
31-17. A
I was gonna
14-point victory. I'm sorry. That's
You're
what the
feeling
14
yourself
came
more
from.
over time.
My
Dropping
apologies. I'm sorry. Give them the 3 points. Give them the 3 points.
The Commanders lead all time by 2 games, 89-86 and 6 ties, which is kind of weird,
Wow.
right?
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
Last time we met, you guys know Saquon went off for $146, 2 touchdowns, so on and so forth. This time, Saquon's only going for 143. Okay, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the game. I don't know. It's really hard to predict the Commanders winning this game. Just how hot the Eagles have been lately. I mean, they beat the Ravens. It's not, and the crazy thing is they're beating good teams, right? They're not hot against a bunch of schmucks. They're beating the Ravens. They're beating the Lions. They're beating so on and so forth. So, and I forgot who they most recently played before they
Steelers.
played the Steelers. Yes, geez, man, they're beating a gauntlet of teams. So it's like almost impossible for me to predict that the Commanders are going to beat them. Almost, but not fully impossible. So I'm going to take the Commanders. I'm going to say we're going to pull this out barely. I think it's going to be 28-26. We went on a missed field goal by the Eagles. And yeah, Saquon gets his. You can't stop that. Nobody's that powerful. I think Jalen Hurts gets his on the ground. I think A.J. Brown doesn't go off if he does play. His ankle injury slows him down a little bit. And I think Lattimore puts the clamps on the rest of that situation. And then you got Samastrill and Lord have mercy, Benjamin St. Juice on Smith. And then at that point, anybody's guess how it goes. So I think we can do it. And this moves us to 10-5, and we are feeling good. Because we'll lock in a playoff spot this week, right? If the Falcons lose, I think, and we win, we're in the playoffs. And they're starting
to the Falcons, and there's got to be another one. It's like the Seahawks or Rams have to lose as well as the Falcons. Not all three, but one or the other of the Seahawks and Rams, and then the Falcons also have to lose if we win. It's a whole thing. Probably not clinching playoffs this week, but 10 wins will feel nice.
10 wins will feel great. Seahawks could very well lose too, by the way. They're not good.
Oh, yeah, they could.
That's what I think. And I think it's going to be a fun one to watch. So it's going to be intense at times. Don't stress out. We'll get there in the end. I truly believe that. So that's it. That's all. Thanks for riding with us. Make sure you're subscribed. Commanders Declassified. We appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, shout out to the Commanders Comments Committee, leaving those great comments in the comment section. We appreciate you. And we'll check in with you guys next week. Happy holidays. And Commanders Declassified. We're out of here. See ya.